Today's demonstration is about creating new compositions from all the Gelli prints we've made and integrating mixed media materials, which is a lot. But before I go into that, I wanted to show you how to make these interesting striped papers. You can do different colors, and it's a bit of a gimmick. I've seen it on YouTube. It's actually painting with a squeegee, but what I like about it is later I can cut out a section of these papers and I can get a little piece like that, which I'm hoping is going to add a little bit of pop to some of the pieces I'm working on today. So this is more sort of decorative pattern collage material. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. The easiest way would be to get these little squeeze paints. So I'm going to do the black. I'm going to do a little, I can get it out of this bottle. Little dots in a row. Let's say you don't have the squeeze tube of paint. Then I'm going to, either with a brush, I've done a brush, I'm going to try a Q-tip. And just put little blobs. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm doing little ones. You could vary the size. There's a big one. Let's see what happens with that. Okay, then I'm going to take my whatever, my scrapey tool. I'm going to pull. If you don't have a scrapey tool, you could just use like a flat piece of cardboard or a credit card. So here it goes. Again, I'm holding it down kind of like a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to pull. You could also use a palette knife. And then what if I want it to curve? I can do a curve. So it takes a little bit of practice, but that would be something fun to play with. I'm now going to go into rearranging some of my Gelli prints to make new compositions. And I'm probably going to pull some of this squeegee paper back in. Okay, so Gelli printing, so much fun. It generates a ton of material, but then the question is, what do I do with all of this, right? So some are going to be better than others. So usually what I do is it's a bit of an organization thing. I go through my prints, and there's a couple of things I can do. I can make associations. So I'm looking at these. That was the new favorite foam brush tool I had. I look at this, and the association I make is this could be underwater. So I could literally do something like having an eel or fish coming out of here, or I could do it in a more abstract way and cut up little pieces of colored paper and put them throughout. So I'm going through my prints and then probably looking for associations like that I could expand upon. Okay, this was the background that was just rolling off paint that Tasha noticed. And I always like adding little bits of metallic paper to it. I could do that. Here's that little stripe thing. So once I find either an interesting background, or this one has a really nice compositional structure, those are usually the ones that I work with. So, and then I spend a lot of time moving stuff around so it kind of lands in a spot that feels right. Okay, the one I'm going to work on today doesn't really look like anything special at all. I think I printed a paper bag, but it's got interesting lines in here, interesting structure. And it reminded me of jeans and stitching. So, because I like to sew, I went to my stash of fabric. I'm just trying to remember the arrangement that I had fiddled with earlier. Let me see if it was that way or if it was this way. I can't remember. I think it was, yeah, it was this way. Okay, so what this curve, this stitching, I'm thinking of it as a line. And there's lines in my composition here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take my charcoal pencil and I'll just outline it a little bit so that you can see it. So I'm making a connection there between the line of, I guess it's a pocket, and then up here, it lines up as well. Now I'm going to keep it contained within this frame, but there's no reason why your compositions can't expand. Here's the paper bag I use to create the impression on the jelly plate. I might pull this apart and reintroduce it into this piece. I don't know. So some of this process, you've got to be willing to tear things apart, let it go. So I kind of like that over there. So let me show you this right here. Okay, so I think I'm going to glue these down. Maybe I'm going to put some sort of a wash on here because now the contrast is maybe a little bit more than I would like. It's always hard to demo this because I don't exactly know where I'm going to go. It almost would be better for me to just have the camera on at home and time lapse it and show it at some point. And I think I will do that. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to add a wash. It's either that Indian yellow. Oh, the other way of organizing things is by color too. So I'm going to stay more in this blue, narrow blue range. So you can narrow things down by color palette so that it's not as overwhelming. Okay, I'm changing my mind now. I'm looking for a burnt sienna. And of course it's in the house. Can't find it. Okay, so we're just going with Indian yellow. And I'm going to do a light wash on here. So there'll be a little bit of contrast. Wow, that's going to change it a lot. And I'm not even sure I like it, but I'm going with it. Okay, too late now. All right, so this, I had this over here, I do believe. This over here. If it helps you to take photos as you go along. Okay, I was wrong. This was over here. Okay. See, this is where taking a photo so you remember where your things go would be useful. Okay. Now I need to cut these pieces down. And I like these little scraps that are left over. Okay, so that was there. Okay, I'm gonna glue this down with Mod Podge. Another thing I like to do is because I do sew, is sometimes I'll just throw this on the sewing machine and then the stitches add. It would be in keeping with this piece since the pocket or the jeans have stitching. But that's not going to happen right now because I can't fit the sewing machine on the screen. Okay, I can Mod Podge my fabric. So this is going to be more of an abstract piece, but there's no reason why on your pieces you can't have imagery, photographs. Okay, this is going to come off the edge a little bit. I could also fray the edge, pull out some of that string. And I'm using a foam brush to put the glue on, the Mod Podge, which I like because it's really hard to clean the Mod Podge out of your brushes and then it turns them into a rock. So I don't want to destroy good brushes. Okay, the choice I made here was to line this up nicely with this edge. Actually, this does that. And then here, I'm going to have it just have it hanging down. Okay, so I've got my highest contrast here, along with my whites down there, and then these are kind of my mid ranges. Do I add in another piece? So I've got a good structure going, but now what else do I need? Okay, maybe that. So I'm looking for balance, right? Want things to feel compositionally balanced. Maybe I like that edge instead. I don't know that. Let me try them both out. Okay, so it's all trial and error. Okay, so there's that with the paper bag edge versus just, yeah, I think I like it more solid. And I'm rounding the corner to match there. Okay. So starting out with a strong structure, narrow color range, and then I'll be looking for some sort of pop at the end. I don't know what that's going to be. Was using charcoal pencil. The one I was using, I thought was a little too heavy. I've got this set. Maybe I'll introduce a little bit of this reddish, and I can even make marks that mimic stitching right in here. However, my paper is a little bit wet. This is rice paper glued on Bristol paper. It's a little soggy. Okay. Now I'm noticing another shape here. I could bring another piece in, but that seems a little heavy. So I think I might want to paint on there directly. Got this new indigo color that I like. I think I'm going to try dry brushing it on there. And before I go over here, I'm going to test it on a little swatch of paper. Like that's a little, not quite enough paint, so I'm going to get a little bit more. I don't want it to be totally solid. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that seems pretty good. Now I've got another little area right here. So now I'm picking out little shapes throughout. Okay, I'm starting to like that. That makes me happy. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe one other area to kind of throw it a little bit. It could be here. Might just be in a little corner here. I think that's what it's going to be. So I like odd numbers. Doesn't feel as static. Okay, maybe like that. So not a lot of paint. And then now I'm going to come back with the magic squeegee paper. So then what I do is I go like this and I can cut. That's a pretty wide strip. I'm going to start there. I'm going to get my other ones too. I'm going to get the, I'm thinking either the red or the black and white. So I'm going to try them all. Okay. And I will cut these down. These are a little too bold. So I'm working with paint, but then the collage elements, I'm thinking of those as, that's part of my palette too. Okay. All right, so there's that. I'm going to cut this down in half. This just shows you a little bit of color goes a long way. So there's that one. Now I'm going to go for red and black. We'll see what that looks like. That's kind of striking, a little more striking than that. And then we'll, for comparison, we'll do the blue and black stripes. I don't think it's going to have as much, it won't have as much contrast, right? So that's calmer, right? That's a calmer composition. Okay, then we'll go black and white stripe. You know, I actually like that. I like that. And then I got a little bit of red here. Probably what I would do is figure out where to glue this and then maybe put in, you know how I am, one little pop of red somewhere just to throw things a little bit. Again, a little bit of color goes a long way. That might be it. I don't know. If I had audio turned on, I would ask your opinion. Actually, maybe I should just ask your opinion right now. 1 or 2 people. What do you think?
What about gluing over the fabric?
The stripe.
Or whatever element you are adding, because I see on the top left the big part of the fabric. It looks kind of boring.
Okay, so I'm just, I'm working in reversal here. So you're saying top, is this the top?
Yes, yeah. On the one on your right.
You know why I'm leaving that?
No, you're right. The fabric.
This over here.
Yeah.
Aha. I do like these stripes coming across the jeans right here. I do like that. I see what you mean here. I did want some empty space. So over here, not filling it in completely, but I think you might be onto something there with, okay, look, here we go. What if I get even bolder? So the great thing, the confusing thing about mixed media like this, it can be a lot, but the great thing is I can shuffle all these pieces around before gluing anything down. Okay, see, now I'm kind of digging that. And it can go on and on. But now that I know how I made this print, it was with the bottom of a paper grocery bag to get this marking. I could conceivably go back and pull more prints like that. I could do a whole series of these in all my spare time, right? Okay, so I think I'm just going to glue these down and call it good for now. I think it's good to work on several of these to keep it loose and not throw all your eggs in one, creative eggs in one basket, right? Okay, so I'm going to go like that. And when it's dry, I probably would throw this on the sewing machine and do some, it could be like a little bit of red stitching in here, or I could hand stitch it too. So many ways of going. Okay, but that, I think you get the general idea of combining and reworking our Gelli prints with other materials.